Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the MindBody Eating Coach. Now, if you have ever had to deal with unwanted behaviors with relation to food, such as emotional eating, binge eating, overeating, endless diets, resistance to weight loss, body image issues, then this video is going to be very important to you. Okay, so now you're wondering, what is mind-body nutrition? What is eating psychology? What is mind-body eating, and how can it help me? What does it come from? What does it mean? Okay, let's take it from the beginning. It begins with Mark David. Mark David is the founder and primary teacher at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating in the USA. He's also the author of the best-selling book, The Slow Down Diet, a very groundbreaking book in the field of nutrition. Mark David has an extensive background in the field of nutrition, eating psychology, and coaching for the last 30 years. So, what happened exactly? As a clinical nutritionist, he realized that what everybody knows, that diets don't work, really. He realized that almost all of his clients, after losing some weight and then getting off the diet, after 1 year or 2 years, they all came back to him because they had gained the weight back. Now, this goes in line with all the statistics and the research that says that 99% of all people who lose weight gain it back within a period of time, 1, 2, 3 years. Now, the difference was that instead of thinking what everybody else was thinking, that's, okay, what's wrong with 99% of the people? Why do they gain the weight back? He thought the opposite. He thought, what if there's nothing wrong with the 99% of the people? What if it would be more interesting to see what the 1% did and they retained the weight that they lost? So he made the research based on this 1%. What he found was that in every single case, there was a very big life event that had taken place. Life event could be they had changed jobs, they had moved, they had gotten married, they had gotten divorced. Something very important had happened in their life. So this finding actually provoked a new question. Okay, so how does the way that I live my life or big events in my life, how do they affect my weight? How can they affect my appetite? And this is where it got interesting, because the appetite is controlled by the hypothalamus. Now, this is inside the brain, okay? Let's say that the brain has 3 areas, okay? The most ancient one is the reptilian brain. We don't actually have a reptilian brain in our heads. It means that the wiring in this part of the brain is as ancient as the one that the reptiles had, or even older. Now, this part of the brain has to do with all the regulatory stuff, the automatic stuff. It has to do with digestion, it has to do with hunger, it has to do with thirst, with sleep, with body temperature, it has to do with how fast my heart beats, it has to do with what is my blood pressure, all the basic stuff, okay? All the automatic stuff. Now, above this uh, is the limbic brain, which is actually the center where our emotions are, our emotions work. On top of everything is the brand new human brain called the neocortex. This is where Homo sapiens live. Okay, this is where logic, determination, all things like that, all the qualities of the human that separate it from the rest of the animals. Now, like we said before, the appetite for food is controlled by the reptilian brain in the hypothalamus. The determination to do a diet is controlled by our thought, our logic, in the neocortex. Different control centers in the brain. What's interesting is that the lower we get, the impulse is stronger, which means if I made a decision with my logic, but an emotion comes up that contradicts this decision, the emotion is stronger than the thought. Also, if a survival instinct, which is in the reptilian brain, comes up, it is stronger than the emotion and it's stronger than the thought. So the question there is, okay, how does my life, what I live, the way that I feel, if I get a promotion or if I move my house or if I whatever do that changes my life, how does it affect my appetite? What is the connection? Okay, so the connection is this: the hypothalamus is a fantastic instrument. It detects uh, chemistry of danger and it responds in a way, in several ways of stress response. When we talk about chemistry of danger, what we mean is that the hypothalamus actually can sense the mood that I'm in. It can sense my emotional state. How? Well, because emotions create molecules, chemical molecules in the brain. So the brain does not, the hypothalamus does not exactly recognize the emotion, but it recognizes the chemistry that is produced. If the chemistry says danger, then it activates protocols in order to help us survive. Okay, so what could be the stress responses to the perceived danger that the hypothalamus detects? Well, it is programmed to detect dangers with regard to temperature. It's too hot, it's too cold. If it's too cold, I have to have a layer for insulation, which means build some more fat. If it's a drought and there is no food anywhere, and I don't know when I will find my next meal, then I need to slow down my metabolism. I need to store any energy that I receive in order to be able to survive until the next meal. Or if it is a life-threatening situation, then we have other responses, which is the fight or flight response. Fight or flight response is not just actually two responses, there's three. There's flight, freeze, or fight. The funny thing is that although in the past the fight or flight response used to make us fitter, because in order to survive, we had to be able to run or to fight better, and this means we have to be fitter. Okay, maybe not to run faster than the tiger, but well, to run faster than the one who was running next to us, trying to get away from the tiger as well. Okay, so in today's circumstances, even the fight or flight response actually contributes to weight gain. Why is that? Because when there's a fight or flight response, energy floods the blood, okay? Energy in order to fight or to run. In the ancient times, we actually ran and we actually fought, and this energy was consumed. So it was spent, okay? It made us fitter. Now, in today's circumstances, we get the response, but it's not a tiger that's trying to eat us. It is time for tax returns. It is time to pay the rent. It is an issue that I have with my boss. We'll get there, how this is related. Now, what happens is energy floods my body, okay? But it doesn't go anywhere. Now, if this energy stays in my bloodstream for too long, it will create neurological damage. So what the body does in order to avoid this danger, to create damage, neurological damage, is it secretes insulin to pull back the energy inside the cells. Okay? Now, the stress response was supposed to last for 4 or 5 minutes. In nature, where we study wild animals, that's how long it takes to get away from the tiger or to get eaten by the tiger. The tiger does not hunt you for weeks and months. Okay? No. So, what happens in the human brain in today's circumstances is this: the reptilian brain is not activated the stress response for life-threatening situations. It detects chemistry of danger because of our emotions, because of our thoughts. So these thoughts and these emotions could go on for days, not for 4 or 5 minutes, for days, or for weeks, or for months. And this is what we call chronic stress. So if we are chronically, which means for a long period of time inside this situation, then we get cortisol, which is the stress response in order to release energy in our bloodstream, and we get insulin to pull it back because doesn't go anywhere. We're not running in the jungle, we're just sitting in our office or in our car, in our couch, and we get stressed. It doesn't go anywhere. If it stays there, it would create neurological damage. So what this does is that we have more insulin that we would normally use in our bloodstream for prolonged period of times. Over time, our cells get used to the presence of insulin. And what does insulin do? Insulin tells the body to stop burning fat and start storing fat. It says, take the energy inside the cell. That's what insulin does. So prolonged presence of higher levels of insulin make the body's cells kind of start to ignore it. Okay, they get used to it. This is called insulin resistance. It could cause metabolic syndrome and it could cause diabetes type 2 and weight gain. So, short story is that all the types of stress response that used to be very helpful for us in the past, in the present time, they cause problems because they are activated not because we are in actual danger, but because the reptilian brain perceives danger because of what our limbic brain feels, emotions, or what our neocortex thinks, which are thoughts. And this is what causes the problem today. Okay, why do diets not work? Because they do not address the source of the problem. What is the source of the problem? The source of the problem is that the limbic brain or the neocortex activate the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain thinks that it is in danger in one of the kinds of danger that used to be when the reptilian brain was made, okay, when it was first wired, which means there's no food around. I need to stop spending energy and start storing food. And, or it could be that there's too much cold outside. I need to build an insulating layer. Or it means somebody's attacking me. They're going to eat me. So I get into fight or flight response, which today causes weight gain. What do diets do? Neocortex. You have to have discipline. You have to follow the program. You have to eat so much and so much and so much. It ignores completely what thoughts and feelings do to the survival mechanisms of our body. Okay? And in fact, going on a diet is a contributing factor to being overweight as an adult. That's what the research says. Why? Because it creates the condition where the brain thinks, oh, there's no food around, there's famine, there's a drought, okay, I need to store energy. Because the brain has a comfort zone with regard to weight. Okay, if through diet we push our weight below this, then this would correspond to a period with no food around. Okay, so as long as this period stops and we are off the diet, then we need to get back to our comfort zone and maybe increase it a little bit to prepare for the next drought where there will be no food. So you see, all this time that we said that binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, weight gain, it all has to do, that's what we thought before, okay, with, oh, maybe this guy is a willpower weakling, or they're not strong character, they don't have determination. This was all wrong. This has nothing to do with with the quality of the person, with what this person is, with who the person is. It has to do with how the survival mechanisms in this guy's or girl's brain is activated. Okay, because we cannot control uh, appetite with thought. It is controlled by another center in the brain. It's like saying, I'm going to steer the car by flashing the headlights. Different control centers entirely. It's completely unfair to blame people for being overweight if we don't understand how the survival mechanisms work. So, what the Institute for the Psychology of Eating has done, what Mark David has done, is actually they have studied people and they have recognized a number of areas which contribute, like a switch, to activating or deactivating the stress response or any other response inside the reptilian brain. How I think about things, how I feel about things, my convictions, my belief systems, my relationships to others, they all contribute to create from the emotions to create a chemistry, which chemistry activates the stress responses. So, to sum this all up, we owe a big apology to everybody who was ever blamed for overeating, binge eating, emotional eating, being overweight, or anything like this. It's not about character, it's not about determination, it's not about the quality of the person. It has to do with how factors and circumstances in their lives activate the reptilian brain into stress responses which cause these behaviors. Okay, so how does mind-body eating coaching or eating psychology coaching or mind-body nutrition coaching, how does it deal with all these things? Well, it deals in a very innovative way. The symptoms are not the problems. The symptoms give us hints for the real problems. So we examine the circumstances, we become more aware of our body by embodiment, by mindfulness, by listening to what the signals of our body say, by recognizing behaviors in our environment, in recognizing thought patterns in our head, and then what we do is for each area that we see, oh, this is an active area for me, this is a switch that's actually active for me. Behind it, there's a protocol that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 steps, and we follow these protocols and these practical changes in our lives, and we deal with the source of the problem, not with the symptom. The symptom will go away if the source goes away. So this is a fairly brief introduction. If you're interested in this, I'll have some links below. And that was it. Nice talking to you.